Hey everyone, hope you're doing well. Today is Wednesday, May 13th. You are now less than a week away from your AP exam. I may have said it incorrectly on the video yesterday, but your exam is on Tuesday. My apologies if I did say it incorrectly. So today I'll just quickly go back through some of those multiple choice questions. I'm not surprised at the ones that we had a couple of incorrect responses on, just because they were the terms that are typically confused. And then I'll quickly give you some tips on the FRQ that you're going to do today, which is based on Unit 5 as well. And then also I'll go over some good practice resources. A lot of you in your comments just said you're a little nervous about the time constraints with the exam. You're a little nervous about doing the FRQ in a different format. So I'll show you some resources that AP has put out specifically for this new exam situation. So I'll show you those at the end, and those would be good to use between now and next Tuesday. So really the only questions that we struggled on were the ones referring to heuristics, right? So the one here, Piper reads about someone described as adventurous and extroverted. She then judged this person is more likely to be a lawyer who enjoys hiking than a lawyer who does not. The best explanation for Piper's error is that she's basing her judgment on representative heuristic. Usually, anytime we're judging a person, we're going to use representative heuristic because we're comparing them to our prototype. Our prototype is the best example. Next one, the two different types of amnesia. So we have two types of amnesia. Amnesia is memory loss. So John suffered a head injury in an accident 5 years ago. He now has clear memories of events that occurred, but has great difficulty remembering any of the experiences he has had since the accident. So we have the accident happened. He has memories from before the accident, but he doesn't have memories after. That would be anterograde because he cannot form new memories. Right? Retrograde would be not being able to remember old memories. And the next one, along the same lines with that, an example of retroactive interference. So remember, retroactive, you're actively trying to access old information, but new information is getting in the way. So the example here, Carl tries to remember the name of his first boss. So he's trying to get old information, but he keeps thinking about his current boss. So that would be in the new information getting in the way. And then those are all your nice little responses there, which I do appreciate when you give me a little info on how everything's going. So I appreciate those of you that put some in-depth responses in there. Unit 5, cognition FRQ here. So I'm not going to give you too many tips. The one thing I'm going to say here is remember, be clear and concise with your answers. Those of you who are worried about the time constraints, quickly identify with a quick definition. All right, that should be one sentence. Right, one sentence where you identify and define the term, and then the application might be 2 to 3 sentences. But really try and be clear and concise and get to the point. So if you look here, this one's talking about a student who's trying to learn the capital cities of every country of the world. Part A says, explain how each of the following might help. All right. And this is something that AP has started to do a lot of with their FRQs, is they give you a group of terms that you have to say how they could help him in this situation. And then part B is terminology that could get in the way of it. So, and you see there, it says, this is actually taken from an old FRQ, specifically says definitions alone will not score. What that means is in your application for these 4 terms in part A, you have to specifically explain how it's going to help Danny. So say distributed practice is blah, 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 say the definition, and then say in this situation, Danny could use distributed practice to help him on his test by doing this, and then explain what he should do to incorporate distributed practice. Part B, then you have two terms, and you have to explain how each of the following might hinder or get in the way of Danny being successful. So the same idea there. How could that terminology cause him to do bad on his test? So retroactive interference is blah, 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 say the definition. Application, make sure you're very clear and concise on how it's going to hinder him, right? And use that terminology. Use the terminology in the prompt in your writing so it's very clear what you are saying. So obviously, if you have questions on that, let me know. I did throw in self-efficacy as a Unit 6 term that's very popular on FRQs. And then sympathetic nervous system is from Unit 2. So we review that, should be good with that. So just incorporate those in there so you can kind of see how different units get incorporated into one FRQ. And then kind of going along with that, the FRQs, a lot of you said you're a little worried about the time constraints and the different format that you're going to have here for your AP exam next week on Tuesday. So AP, if you go to the virtual learning lessons, and I'll post these on Google Classroom as well, AP has put up on their YouTube channel for AP Psychology 2 practice exams. Now, at the beginning, they kind of talk some nonsense and whatnot. So if you would just want to go for the first one, at 17 minutes is when they actually start it. They actually have, it looks exactly like your screen will look. It even has a timer on it, so you can pull it up and complete it or have it up on your screen. It'll have the timer going for you as long as you keep the video going. And then they have a second one that you just, at 11 minutes is when they start it. I would strongly suggest at least looking at these so you see what the questions look like, because AP put these together specifically for these exams. So it should give you a pretty good idea of what type of content and questions they're going to have for you on Tuesday. So like if you look here, this is practice exam number 1. And this is actually, this one's an old FRQ that they just kind of manipulated to fit this format better. So this is what you look at, right? It says Jackie has been chosen for the lead role in the school play. She is both nervous and excited about this opportunity. Explain how each of the following may help her performance in the play. So this one's very similar to the practice one you're doing in class today, because it's saying specifically how are these going to help her performance in the play. Now, this is what I'll say. Should feel good about that term. This one should feel all right. Kinesthetic sense, might be able to, might not know that one. Selective attention, should know that. Distributed practice, should know that. A lot of those are actually on your cheat sheet. Proactive interference, should know that. Yerkes-Dodson, you might just need to look that up. External locus of control, we'll have that on our cheat sheet after tomorrow. But my suggestion here is do the ones you know first and then worry about the ones. So if you don't know acetylcholine, kinesthetic sense, Yerkes-Dodson, law of arousal, leave those 3 for the end and then start looking up stuff online or whatever you have to do to get those done. But get the ones done first that you feel really good about. Because if you think here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 points, you get a 5 out of 8, you're looking pretty good. You're at least setting yourself up to be in that probably 3 range. And then, so you can scroll through. I'd see it takes you all the way down to 26, but then it'll give you a second one. So research methods. And then you can go ahead and do a research methods one. So if you don't want to do both in one day, you could just do one and then come back to the other one. And then the other thing I'll say as well is then they have the review of them down here in the bar here. So If you do the timed AP exam practice number 1, you can then click on the review of the timed AP exam practice number 1, and they talk through it and give the rubrics, and then same for number 2. So those are really helpful, very useful, especially if you think I think we'll have, I can't remember. I don't think we're going to do another FRQ, like a graded one. So these would be good to use over the next couple of days here. And then obviously, if you do have questions on other things you can do to review, just let me know. I'll help you out. So that's it today. Get that FRQ turned in, and then maybe do one of these practice exam FRQs just to start working on or continue reviewing for that FRQ.